So there is draping. Draping is a form of making a cloth, but this I believe most of you have done, but you are not sure whether you've been doing it or not. But it is mostly in culture where I've analyzed, and I find draping mostly in culture wears. Hello there, my name is Amanya Anita, and I'm going to be taking you through the 20 things that you will study in fashion and design school. Now, fashion and design school is a place where most people think it is all about stitching, but it has got subjects that are different units and for different purposes. So I'll go through them. So we have textile science. People that do textile science are those that know how to create a cloth from beginning to the end. Like, they know how to create a cloth, they know how to design a cloth. A plain cloth like this can be designed in different ways, and they know how to dye the clothes to a different color. They know how to bleach fabric. And in textile science, you also find the knowledge about fabric. What kind of fabric do I need for a specific outfit? And also, what are the properties in that specific fabric? So you find all those in textile science. There is also garment construction. So garment construction is the one that all of you guys know. It is the putting together of clothes, and like putting together a cloth from beginning to the end, like stitching it and making it a blouse or a dress or a trouser. And then we come to pattern making. Pattern making is cutting patterns in different forms, and it contains a lot of math, I can say, depending on how good you are at math. It's not like I don't want to scare you, but it contains math, and in that you will just basically know how to adapt a style, because there are basic blocks, basic patterns of, let's say, a blouse, of a dress, of a trouser. But when you want to go deeper, and when you want to style it more and say, I want to do more of this and that, you'll need to adapt using patterns. And those are the patterns that you usually find designers cutting, and you're like, anafanya nini? Ni pattern making or pattern cutting. So there is draping. Draping is a form of making a cloth, but this I believe most of you have done, but you are not sure whether you've been doing it or not. But it is mostly in culture where I've analyzed, and I find draping mostly in culture wears, where people just carry a cloth around themselves. They just design the way they want the cloth to be. Today I want the cloth to be around my neck, and they drape the scarf around their neck. Today I want the scarf to be around my shoulders, and they put the scarf around their shoulders. So for draping, designers usually use mannequins, and these mannequins can define the size of the style of the design you're going to do. So draping is basically putting a cloth on a mannequin and doing whatever you want with the cloth. And we have illustration. Illustration is the drawing, like with hands, illustrating your design. Oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is where I'll put my buttons. This is where I'll put the zipper. This is where I will include the tie and dye. This is where I'm going to put embroidery. All those things, you find them in illustration, because that's where you can tell us exactly what you want like to do. So that's why you meet professional designers telling you, look through these designs and see if this is what you want. Like, they sketch for you and tell you, is this what you want? Do you think this is okay? Can we remove this? Because at the time of execution, the sketch is as important as the execution itself. So that is it for illustration. We have fashion history. Fashion history is one of those things I didn't think I would find interesting, but I can say wow, because the way you look at fashion now is different from how fashion used to be termed in the Victorian era or in the times of French Revolution. Like all those times, style changed, people changed. There is an era where men would put on high heels. That is it for like fashion history. You know why people put on, like, you will know why people used to put on corset. You'll know why people used to put on ball gowns, maybe because at that time that is what was, the most important thing to do. You'll know why people did certain things. That is fashion history. Trend forecasting. This is also correlated to the fashion history, because when you understand how trends have been going, then you are able to tell what the future is yet to have in itself. So as different things happen in history, so do the trends keep on coming and going. So you'll find in a certain age or in a certain time, in a certain century, this was the trend, denim was the trend, or satin was the trend, or floral dresses were the trend. But in another, you'll find it coming and going. That's a trend. That is why it's called a trend. So you'll be able to trend forecast when you study fashion. So it's also among the things you'll find. Then there is fashion marketing and merchandising. So this one is basically marketing your product, what you have done, and selling it to different clients and understanding their needs. So that is fashion merchandising. You also find fashion business and fashion management. These things that I'm explaining now, it's not that I've even studied all of them, because I'll tell you where I've studied some and some I haven't yet seen in my classes, because the I don't know what I can call it, but the more you go, the more you understand where you want to focus. So say if I wanted to focus in business or in management, I would then take a clear path, which is fashion business and management. So these are things you find in fashion school, but not necessarily in 1 year or in one semester. Yeah, that is also to clarify. So then there is also fashion technology. So fashion technology is basically using technology to design. I would say it involves drawing the patterns that were man-made. You just draw them by computer. There is this unit that I am starting to love. Not that I've been loving it, but I'm starting to love it, and it's called computer-aided design, where you can draw a person using the computer with different softwares like Adobe, Photoshop. You can make, you can make seamless patterns. You can make designs of a fabric if you wanted, and you go and print it out. All that is fashion technology, and I'm finding it interesting. I did not used to love it because I wasn't that good at CAD. So computer aided design, that is it, and it is in fashion technology. So we have sustainable fashion. Sustainable fashion is one of those things that developed in 2014. So in 2014, that is when sustainable fashion came about, and it was brought up because people were like, okay, why are we doing clothes and throwing them just after minutes of doing them? Fashion is one of those, even when it's $1 billion company, it's one of those most wasteful industries. So designers have rethought, professional designers have thought of these things, and they have carefully sat down and put them in our curriculum, I think, so that we can understand, if you want to do something, is it worth destroying the environment? Can't you do it in more natural fabric? Can't you make sure that it is reusable and and able to be recycled? So all that, you find it in sustainability. It's more like ethics, business ethics. You are doing something harmful to the environment, and so you have to do something to make sure it is diverted and it is eco-friendly. So that is fashion sustainability. We have fashion law, and that is basically where our teachers usually tell us copywriting your work, like having your property copyrighted. That is more to do with intellectual property, where it is, I think, you and your product knowing that this is what I did and I published it on this date, and this is why I deserve to gain from it. Unlike times where designers fight for designs, we have had scandals in Africa where people are like, oh, I submitted my portfolio, and when I submitted it, I can see it on the runway, like I'm seeing my design on the runway. But if you copyright and you actually follow fashion law, so we have seen people fighting for designs and fighting for property like no man's business. So it's a good thing, like, to copyright your work. There is fashion journalism, and that one is very evident. We have seen like the Vogue magazine, places where people are publishing their work of others, like there are fashion journalists behind this thing, and it's a good thing for us to like appreciate them, because I don't think fashion would be that glamorous on the outside if it wasn't for those journalists. They wake up and they're like, oh, look at this model, and they set, I think journalists also do a big part in setting trends, because there was a time when dark-skinned people were the trend, like they were the trend in modeling, and it happens because fashion journalists come out and show the world what fashion trends are there now, who has released what, which collection is here, which designer is resigning. All those things are in fashion industry. Then there is fashion styling. Now this is mostly to do with celebrities. When you wake up, you style yourself. You're like, I'll put on shades because it is sunny, I'll put on earpins or earrings, or you'll do something just because of something. But fashion stylists, I usually see them when like they're in movies. Most of the times they style someone from head to toe, telling them you can put on this bag because this scene is telling you're going to shop, and all those things are in fashion in the fashion industry. And fashion styling is, I think it is interesting. I hope it is interesting for the people that do styling, running around town and finding the right fit for this and the other. So in fashion school, you find yourself most of the times researching mostly about the units that I already told you before, like researching about the history of fashion. I did not know I was going to like be that kind of person who sit behind a computer and write a whole essay and then research proposal and then tell the teachers, like, even what is it called, presenting. Sometimes I did not know I was going to be that, but I ended up being like that. So we are like, it is more of researching, it is more of knowing what you are talking about, or it is more of like understanding where something originates from. So that is what we do, like also in fashion school. We have communication in art and design. fashion is an art, so you have to learn how to communicate in art. You communicate in art as a designer to your fellow designers, but do you think everyone understands how you communicate? So this is why, like, we come out and we are like, we need journalists so they can paint for you the picture and say, okay, this is what Virgil was saying when he meant off-white, this is his collection and it means this and that. That is fashion, that is communication in art and design. You find yourself using different medias to communicate. Of course, social media, like right now I'm communicating to you. I'm telling you what you'll find in fashion and design. This is communicating. I'm communicating. So it is you use different media. Some people use the illustrating, others use the painting and all those things, but it is communication at the end of the day. Even media, different platforms of social media and word of mouth, because before then, before now, people used to just do word of mouth to come and tell you, you know what, there is a designer there, go and they measure you, what, and you go, you get influenced and you do the needful, you order. All right, so then there is production, producing, like the whole process of producing from the beginning to the end. In most cases, when you work in companies, big companies, you'll find yourself doing a tech pack as a designer, because not all the time will you be the one to produce your outfits. Oh no, like sometimes your brand grows beyond you and you actually need people to help you with designing or with stitching. And so sometimes you need that tech pack, like you need that process where from beginning to the end is this is what is required. And even when I'm not there, I can leave that tech pack so people can know what I meant when I drew this around the neck or this around that. All that is in production. When you're in apparel production, you're able to have those things like in your mind. You're like, okay, so I need to do a tech pack because people that will do my production are not the same that will be designing, or they will not be the same that will be doing this and that. Then we've got professional development. This is more of a personal unit that I also have come to enjoy in this time. Like it deals basically with you yourself, what you want to do and how you want to do it and why you want to do it. Because most of the times people want to build brands and they do not know how they will come out. Yes, you have studied fashion and design, but now, do you want to be more specific? Do you want to tell me you want to be a fashion journalist in the future, or you want to continue and become a fashion photographer, or like you want to go and maybe become a fashion lawyer so you can struggle for the rights of other creatives? You don't it's an important thing for you, like, to develop professionally and come to a conclusion on what you want in the industry, because you won't do you won't do everything. You will eventually major into one, though I would say it is a good thing to know all the basics, and which is why we are in fashion school. At least you know a hint of photography, you know a hint of journalism, you know a hint of, so that as you start your brand, you're not like green and you are not only focused on one thing that which could be probably illustrating or stitching. And then the last one would be professional portfolio development. Now, in fashion, we are taught how to develop a portfolio. Why? Because you could wake up one day and say you want to design for big brands like Gucci, Versace, Chanel. All those brands, they require you to have a portfolio. And in case you don't know what a portfolio means or how they create one, I can do a video on that. But a portfolio is very, very much important. And there are different types of portfolio, but for a designer, it is basically your work, and how you do your work matters. How you got the inspiration matters. How you came to design everything. Sometimes we see designers having like 10 collections in 1 year, and you wonder how. It's because they have learned the art of developing a portfolio that includes many elements that I can do later. So I'll leave you with a bonus, which is a great one, by the way. In fashion school, you will find yourself being told to network. Know the other person. Talk to the other people in other industries, because you will need them at some point. I've been there in the, like you'd be there doing your units, let's say like the different units that were set for us, and I was surprised. At some point I had to visit a medical doctor, just to make sure that I can, campaign for a cause. So there are things that you will require to do, which is networking, because you will need different people at certain stages in your career. And needless to say, you even need to know other designers in the industry. So that was it that you should expect in fashion school, and probably you'll find one that is suitable for you in all those different things that you learn in fashion school, because we have different strengths. Bye.